Nostra fam, welcome back. It is Vegas time. Dicko, we are on the eve of the round one fixtures. The Raiders versus the Warriors, the Panthers versus the Sharks. Footy's back, baby.
Yeah, how good is it? I am excited. That felt like it was a long preseason, especially for my team, considering we didn't play finals. So
Yeah.
I am excited for Sunday, Australian time, Sunday morning for the first game to kick off.
Yeah, 11 a.m. New South
Mm.
Wales time, 10 a.m. Queensland time.
Big day of
Uh,
footy too on that Sunday. Set
Huge
yourself
day of
up.
footy. There's an English Super League game.
Yeah,
Is it
Warrington v Wigan.
Wigan? Yep. Gillaroos versus the English. And obviously the two NRL fixtures. Now, Dicko, before we jump into it, just want to shout out to one of our sponsors, Create Merchandise, www.cr8.sydney. Check them out. Mention our name for merch, corporate wear, sporting, schools, uniforms, pens, you name it. They've got it. Reach out to them. They'll help you. Tailored end-to-end service, impeccable. Now, Dicko, Raiders Warriors. I'm really keen to see who you're going to tip in this, more
Yep.
importantly than anything,
Yep.
because these two sides last season were that inconsistent, it's not funny.
Yep.
And both their preseason fixtures were equally as inconsistent. The Raiders were, they beat Penrith, albeit understrength Penrith side, and then, had an absolute sort of, not a howler, but they got belted by the Sharks 40-10. So it was nothing to get excited about. And on the other hand, the Warriors sort of had that 12-all draw in the first round against a very undermanned Sharks side, and then came out and belted the Storm, who were undermanned, of course. But
extremely undermanned. It was a
Warriors
Cup side.
Warriors looked a little bit impressive, but I'm keen to see who you're tipping here because it's very exciting. And I'm going a little bit of a smoky a bit later, but we'll touch on that soon. Now, let's have a look at the sides. Now, is there any surprises that stand out to you from who's been named, particularly in the Raiders squad? Does anyone stand out to you there?
The only one sort of stands out to me is purely Corey Horsburgh starting in the front row and Josh Papali'i back to the bench. That just when I looked at the team list, that was the first thing I saw, and I was like, oh, okay. Considering Corey, he's obviously had a massive preseason. Felt like he was a bit unwanted. Managed to talk him around last season, and then he's sort of seen him named in the starting lineup. So he's obviously had a big preseason and looks raring to go. But I thought when Josh Papali'i during the preseason, what time he got, I thought he was really good. So he's going to provide a lot of punch off the bench for them for sure. And he's played over 300 games. Well, I think 300 odd games, hasn't he?
Yes.
So massive experience off the bench, and that might just be purely for that reason is why he's coming off the bench. Maybe Vic Stewart sort of decided that, but that's really the only selection of note that I sort of looked at and thought, oh, okay, I'm not so sure about that, but I can understand. But
It's a bit of a weird one.
I think so, especially for the first game, round one. I would think I would want to go in with what I know rather than what I don't know. But again, we haven't been down there during the preseason. To see how Corey Horsburgh's trained. I have heard some reports that he's trained the house down. So, I hope he has because he's a good player.
Well, for Queensland purposes.
Absolutely. Right. Yeah. And just the other two guys, I mean, to mention, not selection shocks, but just how they're going to handle the game after a little incident probably 24 hours ago now. So just how they're going to sort of, I feel like one in particular will really take it upon himself to have a massive game after that, and sort of Hudson Young. I feel like he's the kind of guy that will let his footy do the talking.
Yep.
But apart from that, I'm pretty sure. I think it's a pretty stock standard Raiders team. I reckon.
Yeah, bit of feedback from last season was we maybe tippy-toed around some of our previews and reviews. So I'm just going to go straight for the jugular, straight from round one, mate. Uh,
How
I
good is the
don't
season going to be if you
understand.
do this? How good is the
Oh,
season going to be if you
I'm
do
I'm
this?
just going to rip in. Seriously. Morgan Smithy should not be in the starting 13. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Corey Horsburgh needs to be at 13.
Mm-hmm.
Josh Papali'i needs to start
Yep.
in 8.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Raiders squad looks fantastic
Mm-hmm.
for what they've got. Because at the moment, you're playing a bloke who can tackle but can't run and has clearly not adapted to the speed of the NRL. I really hope he proves me wrong, but I'm yet to see that. And I think proof's in the pudding where Ricky signed Matty Nicholson and left him out of the squad entirely, after being somewhat impressive in preseason, in my opinion.
Yeah. Okay.
So I don't know where his head's at. Obviously, Tamale comes in for his debut. Owen Paddy for his debut, notable mention. One player that I'm excited to see, however unsure how he's going to perform, is Zach Hosking, because he's missed the entire preseason and been thrown straight into the second row.
Yep.
Uh, their bench is a bit thin, like very thin, and I feel like if
Which again, that might be because of that. That might be why that selection's been made. If you're saying
yeah,
it's a thin bench, that may be why that.
and there could be late changes as well. Unfortunately, now with team lists, it can be quite annoying because there's plenty of late mail that gets thrown around,
Yeah.
and positions that change. But
Yep.
look, yeah, look, the Raiders can't really, they just don't have the depth. Like, seriously, my cousin's toddler's pool's got more depth than their squad.
Yeah.
Like, where do they turn to?
Okay.
Now, what about the Warriors?
The
That,
Warriors. Yeah.
mm,
I again, there was one sort of selection that sort of stood. No, they're in the team. He's in the team, but sort of stood out to me. Was Tuivasa-Sheck on the wing.
mm,
Um,
good
uh,
move?
it's funny. If you would have asked me an hour ago when I looked at the teams, or a couple of hours ago, I would have said no. But
Mm,
now thinking about it, and there's a massive emphasis on meters wingers make off kicking.
yep, yep, off those first and second tackles.
Hence why you see Selwyn
Yeah.
Cobbo being moved back to the wing. Michael Maguire's talked all preseason about how important that 0 and 1 tackle is.
Yeah, those carries out of yardage are so important now.
Exactly, So whether and Roger is very evasive when he runs
Mm,
and makes good meters. Think of his days playing fullback at the Roosters
yep.
and even at the Warriors. So maybe that's the selection they've gone with there. But that was just, and the other one was just Tamare Martin. I thought he would have got a crack at the set in the 7
Mm.
because again, I think we spoke many a
He
times
misses out
last.
completely. He's not even on
Yeah,
the bench or anything.
well, we spoke many a times last season that we thought he was excellent when Sean Johnson was out injured. We
Yeah.
thought he sort of carried the Warriors. So that's a
Is it not
big.
weird though that he's played 5'8" in both preseason games?
And Harris Tavita played in both preseason games. Did he play, or was he injured in one?
Well, he didn't play the first one, I don't think. And then the second one he
He came
did
off the
play,
he came
but
off the bench.
it wasn't, you know.
Yeah, well, obviously they've gone in with an idea of who they want in the 7 and the 6. And Metcalf, they've obviously gone, okay, he's our sole, he's the future. We want him to play halfback. I'm
Mm.
surprised Tamare Martin again for round one. You want to go in. I feel like if I was coaching, I want to go in with what I know for round one rather than what I don't know.
Yeah,
Like
or not take any risks and
you've
go
got 20,
safe.
yeah, you've got 25 rounds to sort of take risks. And
Mm.
for round one, I would have thought I just want to go in with you're almost going in a little bit safe, you
Yeah.
know. That's me
Well,
personally.
we'll show the Panthers lineup. That's exactly what they've done.
And I've got some big sort of things to say about the Panthers lineup. I'm telling you right now. Let's just wait a bit.
All right, let's go.
But no, apart from that, I mean, Aaron Clark makes his
Yeah,
Warriors debut in
yeah,
the
starting
13.
at lock. Yeah,
Yeah,
like it.
I
Val
do like that.
Munga, Val Munga, I like him off the bench.
Yeah, good player. I'm surprised Bunty Afoa's not on the bench. I thought he did enough in preseason.
Mm.
In the game time that he got to get a bench spot at least. He runs off the back fence. But yeah, I mean the Warriors. It's very hard to tip this game, as you sort of mentioned, I do have a tip, and I'll give it to you shortly. But yeah, round one's always terrible. It's always terrible to try and preview because we're going off trial form where no one really
Yeah.
cares.
Yeah.
They're in America, they're in Vegas. How are they going to travel? You know,
Do you think maybe Andrew Webster's chosen Harris Tavita over Tamare Martin purely because of Metcalf being so dominant now, or at least it looks that way, and how they want to play? And they've chosen Harris Tavita purely for defensive purposes?
potentially I could also make a case that Harris Tavita is a genuine six,
Mm.
whereas
Mm.
Tamare Martin can play 7 or 6. So he's probably
Yeah.
I feel like Tamare is actually a better 7 than a 6. I
And
think
you
he's
couldn't have
played.
played, I don't know, you couldn't have had Harris Tavita playing 14 because you got Walker there, right?
Yeah,
So
that's right. Unless you play
yeah.
Dylan Walker at lock, and I think you need Dylan Walker at
Mm,
14
mm,
because he provides so much leg speed in and around the ruck when he comes on the field. So it'd be interesting to see.
mm.
Like this match is probably one of the more intriguing ones early on because there's some selections, and I mean, for years the Warriors have had Sean Johnson in their team, and they don't all of a sudden now. So how are they going to go without Sean Johnson, right?
Yeah, it's gonna be an interesting game, that's for sure. And obviously shorter field.
Shorter fields, a narrower field. So, how are the playmakers going to adjust to that? And I don't believe they get a run on the field until either the day of or the captain's run the day before
Mm, mm.
because of the situation where they slide the field in to the stadium, I think the morning of or the day before or something, and then they slide it out.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's a bizarre situation. I know that from the feedback from the teams last year, I'm pretty sure the Roosters didn't even have a captain's run on that field at all. So, yeah, how the bearings of players and kicking games and atmosphere and the crowd's quite close, probably closer than any ground we have here, just in terms of
Yeah.
how narrow the field is. So it'd be interesting. There's a lot of factors, not just the game of football, that's going to determine the result in this one.
Mm. All right, well let's go to the decision. Who are you locking in?
I've tipped the Warriors.
Warriors?
Yeah, I've tipped the
Just?
Warriors.
Just?
No, I think they'll win comfortably or comfortable enough.
How's comfortable? How comfortable do you feel?
Uh, uh, well, comfortable. How comfortable? It'll be more than a try.
More than a try.
More than a try.
Mate, I am going to agree with you, and I am going to lock in the Warriors by 20 or more.
You have gone bold off zero form. You have gone bold.
Yeah, look, if the incident didn't happen, I would say that the Warriors, like I'd be in a similar vein to you, but I think I'm just trying to think about mentally, not just the players involved, but the
Mm,
rest of the squad and what
mm,
impact that's had. And they're already low on depth and probably more than likely not going to make the 8, let's be honest, with the squad that they've got.
mm,
Will this put almost too much pressure on them on a big stage?
mm-hmm,
Because Ricky is all about, like, he's not a tactical coach.
mm.
He's all about getting them up and,
Yep.
proving everyone wrong. And it'll all be about that. I just think they're going to try too hard. And it's, yeah, the Warriors for me, looking at their,
Their forward pack is quality, the
yeah,
Warriors.
but just their versatility. So Aaron Clark has multiple levels to his game still,
Mm,
I
mm,
think. Dylan Walker has great impact off the bench through the middle, playing at 13, can play dummy half. I think that's why he's there, obviously. Jackson Ford, he could have started in the second row or in the front row, realistically.
mm.
They could have shuffled a few things around. Val Mulga, he's been impressive in preseason. He's going to bring a bit of punch off the bench. And Halasim got a few big raps on him as well. I look at the Raiders bench and I go, what are you going to do outside Swap Morgan Smithies probably for Papali'i and Horsburgh drops back to lock. Like, what
Yeah,
else are
yeah.
they doing?
Mm.
Like, if when their forwards get gassed, where do they turn? If
Yeah.
they get an injury or a HIA, what happens? And we
Yeah.
know that this happens early in the season. And I guess that's just my theory from this perspective. But yeah,
I feel like it comes down to, if I was to narrow this down, and it comes down to Corey Horsburgh versus James Fisher Harris and Joseph Tarpany versus Mitch Barnett. Whoever gets on top of that battle,
mm,
that team will win.
yeah,
As I said, narrower field. There's not going to be a lot of spreading of the footy because I think it's like 5 meters narrower on each side. So that, yeah, when you're talking about a rugby league field, that's actually quite significant.
yeah.
So
And kicking game's going to be key there.
yeah, the one thing that
Jamal
might
Fogarty's,
save the one thing I might
yeah,
save is his kicking game. He can have games where his kicking game is excellent, but
yeah,
he can also have games where it's not great. So he's going to need to be on song with his kicking for sure.
yeah. That's going to have a big difference on the outcome of the game. All
Yeah,
right, well, let's lock them in. Warriors for both of us.
Warriors for
Warriors for
both of us,
both of
mate.
us. All
Absolutely.
right, the next game
Here
is
we go.
obviously the Panthers versus the Sharks. Now, before we get into it, let's just give a quick shout out to Grip Socks. That's GRIPZSOCKS. Check them out. Use our code Nostra20 for a discount there. Also, High Caliber Racing recently come on board with us. They are going to be our major sponsor this year for our tips each week in particular. So when you see that, jump on. We're going to tag them, their website. Check them out. It's all about syndication. So whether you're a new to racehorse ownership, if you're looking to add something else to your stable, it's an experience of a lifetime. Go and check them out. Great bunch of guys. Say hello to Dale and the team there. Now, Dicko.
Yes. You don't like it.
I don't
I
want
knew
to.
I knew you wouldn't like this team. When it dropped today, I almost sent you a message, but I was like, no, I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait till what he says tonight. He doesn't like it.
Look,
Listeners, he's stumped.
oh,
4-time premier, and he is stumped. He's got nothing.
so Dylan Edwards hasn't played any preseason, off-season surgery. This is not excuses already, by the way. This is just facts. Nathan Cleary, same. Isaiah Yeo hasn't played any preseason games, but we know what Isaiah Yeo brings. He won't miss a beat. Jack Cole has been named at 6. Blaze Talangi, off-season surgery as well. He's been named in the 23. Was he ever going to play? I don't think so. So I'm not going to read too much into that. I think he will eventually be the 6.
I'm reading a lot into that, but yeah, go on.
Yeah, I think he'll eventually be the 6.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't have a problem with Jack Cole.
Mm-hmm.
Isaiah Papali'i on the bench.
Mm-hmm.
I'd rather have Isaiah Papali'i starting and have Sorensen on the bench. That's my opinion. Just purely more versatility for Sorensen.
I tell you, we've got some good points here.
And as I thought, Casey McLean beats Jesse McLean. Obviously, Brian To'o's out as well. Do I think Penrith are going to win? Well,
No,
you'll find out soon.
Yeah, hang on. Let's not worry about that yet.
What do you make of the side? I've just purely read out Penrith's situation and who's been chosen. What do you think of the side?
So, okay, in the spirit of being blunt,
No, just throw it.
I don't like it. When I first saw it, I don't like it at all.
Yeah.
But I've said this before about Penrith, and they've pulled my pants down on 4 seasons. So I'm not reading into Dylan Edwards, Nathan Cleary, Isaiah Yeo not playing any preseason minutes. That if I'm a Penrith fan, it wouldn't worry me at all. You know what you're going to get from those guys. There might be a little bit of rust.
Yeah.
I don't even think I'm not. You're not worried about them at all.
You reckon this game they're just going to come straight in? And
they'll get through the game, no problems at all, mate. No problems at all. No problems at all.
Jeez, more confident than me.
They'll have some rust in their game, absolutely, no doubt about it. But no problems getting through the game. Luke Garner's a back rower, isn't he?
He is a back rower, yeah.
So why is he playing centre when arguably Paul Alamotti was probably in the top 4 centres in the comp last year?
My theory here is...
Do you not have another winger?
They do. Jesse McLean. Uh, he has not been picked because not of talent. I think Ivan has gone ultra conservative here and gone, we're going to win this game through defense, not through attack.
Okay, so is Isaac Tungo a right or a left center?
Right.
So
Well, he was last year anyway.
Jesse Ramian is a right center. So if I am the Sharks, I am giving Jesse Ramian the ball in space as much as possible.
To attack Garner.
Correct. And I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure you'll find, and I'm pretty sure you'll find Jack Cole will defend on that side of the field as well.
He
So
will.
that's a new combination. That's concerning if I'm a Penrith fan.
Yeah, you've got Teague Wilton and Sam Stonestreet's no slouch either.
Okay, so I'm concerned there. That was the first Luke Garner at center and Paul Alamotti, and then I'm looking through and Brian Toto's out, but surely there's another winger. Come on.
We don't have the enforcer either in Fisher Harris, so now it's Adam Fanor Blake and Kafusi versus Leota and Smith.
And this is where it's intriguing for the Panthers right here. This is where it's Moses Leota has never had to be the enforcer for the Panthers.
Just for the listeners out here, I don't think Dicko knows who Trent thinks is going to win this game.
I do know. I think I know who's going to win. But Moses Leota has never had to lead a pack. He's never had to be the top dog, the alpha, right?
Nah.
Never had to. How's he going to go? It's not just about leading a pack. It's not just about making hit-ups and making meters. There's more to it. I
think his minutes will be lower. I think it'll be 20 hard minutes off last 15, 20. That's it.
So then that throws their whole bench and their whole rotations in a completely different direction than what it's ever been, because Fisher Harris plays 30 minutes straight up.
I think you'll find that Lindsay Smith, and I don't want to use the word dominant, but he will be the big minute middle with Isaiah Yeo this season. He'll play 55, 60 minutes a game.
And and you're probably right, and I could be clutching at some of the biggest straws you've ever seen, but I'm just trying to pick holes in a very good team.
And I can't. Scott Sorensen is a makeshift second rower. He doesn't hit holes. Let's be honest. He doesn't hit holes. He's not a Liam Martin who hits a hole and goes over the line. You never see Scott Sorensen score tries like that. It's always under on the inside. He does have versatility to his game. He's got an offload, great player, awesome defender, solid as a rock, right? I would rather have someone with those attributes on the bench and start Isaiah Papali'i, who's an out-and-out second rower. In my opinion.
Yeah, see, this is one that I actually disagree with you. I actually feel like Isaiah Papali'i's best football was when he came off the bench for Parramatta.
Okay.
Before he was signed by the Tigers. He came off the bench for Parramatta, and I watched him. I was live at a Broncos versus Parramatta game, and he came off the bench, and he literally destroyed the whole Broncos team.
I'm just confused at how the rotation's going to look here. Seriously. You've got... Dane Laurie at 14, I understand.
But why?
Coverage.
For coverage
that's
of
just
what?
Coverage of backline, purely. Like anywhere in the backline.
Have Penrith ever played a 14 like that?
Never. I understand it because last season, and a lot of teams are going to opt for it this year, right? So
I look at
Dylan Walker, Daniel Atkinson in the Sharks, we'll get to that, versatility.
Yep.
And Dane Laurie. And I think a lot of teams will look at how many injuries there were last season in the back line and how many makeshift moves coaches had to make on the run as a result of HIAs and injuries.
Okay, I think the Dane Laurie selection is two things. They're concerned about Garner and the centers.
Yeah.
Right? And they're concerned that Cleary gets through the game.
Concerned about
Garner, whether he can hold up as a center for the match, right?
Jesus, I'd rather Garner there than Laurie.
Just purely on defense. And Alamotti to the center.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
Simple.
Yeah,
but what I'm saying is I feel like you're right in saying that he's there for cover, but I reckon he's there he is there for cover, but I think they're concerned about. Okay, Cleary hasn't played a game yet with a off-season shoulder surgery, so let's just stick a guy on the bench that can play in the halves if need be, in case he doesn't get through the game.
I haven't come into a game in 5 years this uneasy.
I don't think it's great. I honestly think it's really good because there's a lot of questions that aren't answered that have been answered the last 4 years, 5 years, five
Yeah.
straight grand finals.
And
Yeah,
we're about to find out, aren't we?
we're about to find out. As I said this a couple of weeks ago when we previewed them. This is their biggest challenge because the two guys that have left in the off season, I think, are more valuable to the team than what everyone realised.
Mm.
More than Stephen Crichton, more than Matt Burton, more than Appy Coruscant, more than Viliami Kikau. Fisher Harris and Luai were more important to this team than what people realise. And there's a lot of questions that I'm really interested to see answered.
Couldn't agree more. Could not agree more. And it makes me feel a little bit ill.
Just listeners, when you're listening, and even our YouTube subscribers watching on YouTube, just take note of Dizz's face when I said that. Very concerned. Very concerned.
All right, let's look at the Sharks. Right? Let's look at the Sharks. It's not about Penrith. Outside Will Kennedy.
Good team. Really good team.
Yeah, and I'm not trying to knock Will Kennedy because he can play football, right?
Mm.
But if they had an elite fullback, I would lock them in for premiership phase.
Well, they do. He's playing halfback.
Valid point. And and on that note, he's been named in the 7, right? Is he going to kick during the game? Is he going to kick goals? We're about to find out. Stone Street on the wing. I'm a massive fan of Stone Street. I actually think he's better than Katoa. So this is my prediction. Katoa doesn't get his spot back when he comes back from injury. That's going to be one of my predictions. Brayley at 9, no hooker on the bench.
Mm-hmm.
After Beryl's sort of had a,
They don't need
elite.
They don't need to run a hooker though because they can.
I don't think so either.
They can run Cam McInnes in at 9, and then they can just bring on someone to play lock. So
Totally. And
So
Jaden Beryl's there purely to party in Vegas. That's all he's there for. Now, alternatively, the Sharks bench makes a lot of sense.
It's a good bench. I'm just looking at good.
They
good
have
bench.
2 front rowers who can come on and do a good 30 to 40 minute stint.
Yep. Play good minutes. Yep.
Who are admirable players
And
who
provide
can have
good
an
impact. Yep.
Talakai can cover.
He can cover anything.
Second
He can cover
row
1 to 13.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Daniel Atkinson, likewise with the spine.
Anywhere in the back. Yep.
So
Yep. That's pretty much the best bench. That's the best makeup of a bench, I reckon. When we sit down and look at all round 1 teams, that's probably the best makeup in terms of player versatility that you can get in the NRL at the moment, I reckon.
And anyone who hasn't seen top 8 predictions, you'll just take note of Dizz's. Sharks are at the top.
Mm.
So let's see what eventuates there. Now,
no real weakness, really, is there? In terms of
there's not. And look, it's going to come down to, is Nico Hines going to choke again? Because if he does not, the Sharks will go a long way. If he does, it's not going to be good. And they're going to stumble again. He needs to use this, because he's not going to play Origin. He's never going to be picked in Origin ever again. Right?
Mm.
And I think he knows that now. He needs to almost go, okay, I don't have to do anything but perform well for the Sharks every week. I don't need to try and get Origin. He's already won a Dally M. He doesn't need to prove anything to anyone except himself and the Sharks.
Yeah.
And the Sharks fans. And I hope and to be honest, how he's looked in preseason and his mannerisms around the team and how he's interacted with the media, I actually think I've seen a change in Nico. He doesn't seem as... Last season, he sent unsure of himself.
Mm.
like really unsure of
Yeah.
himself.
He battled with confidence for sure.
And I hope for Nico and for the Sharks that he really does his best on and off the field and is in a great headspace, because he's literally the difference between them winning a premiership and not.
Yeah.
So, Dicko,
Yeah.
are you leaning towards a Sharks victory over the Panthers in round one?
Yes, I am. And I'll tell you why. I just this although it's very hard to tip against Penrith, it is very hard. I'm purely my tip is purely based on a lot of their team hasn't played a game, and there'll be a lot of rust, like there is in any sport when you haven't played.
Yep.
So that's natural. We're going to expect that. If they go out there and there is no rust, this team will win 5 premierships. Because seriously, I can't see them not having some sort of rust to their game. All right.
Mm.
There's a lot of question marks now over Penrith. A lot of question marks in terms of team selection, players. Toto's out. He's a massive out for round one. And I think that for one of the only times in the last 4 seasons, I look at the team list and I can see clear weaknesses and in areas that teams can attack.
Yeah.
Whereas I haven't been able to find that. It's always been when your team comes up against them, shit, how are we going to score? And you are right in terms of they've gone probably conservative. The Talangi non-selection to me, if is baffling. If he was no chance to play, why has he gone to Vegas? If you've signed him as the guy, why isn't he playing? That I think there's more to that than just he's injured.
Mm.
I don't know whether
Do they want to take him over so he's part of the squad building that culture?
No, I mean probably. You're probably right.
I don't know. You could be right as well.
But I know we have criticised him defensively on many occasions. Is that an area of concern? I personally don't know a lot about Jack Cole. You're the Penrith fan. He's probably a better defender than Blaze Talangi.
Yeah,
So,
definitely.
Yeah. So maybe that's the reason. Ivan's just gone in, as you said, purely with it. We're just going to defend our way to victory, and it is a narrower field, so it is going to be easier for them to defend the outside. But if I'm the Sharks, there's a couple of areas in that team list that I can see. I would be definitely challenging some areas of their defensive line, and it'll be interesting to see how they go. Like it's not a lay down that Penrith are going to win with the team I'm seeing on paper.
Yep.
And if the Sharks don't win, if the Sharks don't come and win this game, I really feel like we've got to start asking. And I know it's round one and it's difficult, but I really feel like we've got to start asking some questions about whether they can actually get it done.
Because if you're going to beat Penrith, now's the time.
Now's the time. Now's the time. They haven't been great. They haven't been great round one for the last couple of years, have they? I think they lost to the Broncos one year and they got done by someone else.
Or Penrith, you mean?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, they haven't.
They haven't been great round one. They haven't started well. So they're there. And I said this again in the grand final. They're there for the taking is whether someone can do it.
Yeah. I am going to say that Penrith will be 1 from 3 after the first 3 rounds.
Yeah, I haven't looked at who they've got after that, but
so they play the Roosters in round 2, and then the Storm in round 3, coming off a bye. I think you'll see the Sharks win in Vegas and win not comfortably, but I think they'll win by double figures.
Well, that is comfortably.
Yeah, it's like 30-20 or 20-10. I think it will be like they'll dominate the game and deserve to win, but you don't smash Penrith. No one smashes Penrith, right? Happy to be proven wrong. I don't think it's going to happen.
Yeah, okay.
But I think the Sharks are going to win, and it burns me inside to say that with confidence.
Yeah, I think the Sharks will win. I straight away, as I said, I like the Sharks' preseason form. Too many question marks over Penrith. Too many players that haven't played a game. Although I'm not concerned about them getting through the game, more about the rust and just how they'll go. And I feel like there's some
Mate, the
Cronulla
fact
players that
that
want to make a
Penrith are
statement.
favourites in this game baffles me.
Oh, are they? I haven't even looked. Yeah, okay. Oh, it doesn't really surprise me. I think you're pretty much going to start favouring in most games if you've won 4 comps in a row, purely on just that fact alone.
Mate, if I'm a Cronulla Sharks supporter, this is you've got to start well and you've got to build a foundation and you've got to have a base there of confidence. This is their opportunity.
Well, they've lost nothing.
I know it's round 1 and you
Yeah.
can't win a premiership in round 1, but you can lose one.
But they've lost, if you look at their team, they've lost nothing.
Nothing.
Like you said, Katoa's out. Stone Street probably does as good of a job as him, if not better.
Yeah. And then you throw in Adam Fanua-Blake, the best front row in the comp, arguably.
Correct. So, they haven't lost.
Against a side that's just lost one of the best front rowers in the comp.
And probably
previous best player in the world.
And probably
2 years
the
ago.
top 258 in the comp.
Yep.
So, on the balance of that, yeah, I'm tipping the Sharks.
Yeah.
Well, I know a lot of people will tip the Panthers purely on the fact that, it's the Panthers, but yeah, I think the Sharks will win. I think they'll win comfortably.
Well, there you have it, Nostrafam. Lock in the Warriors and lock in the Sharks for both Dizz and Dicko. First episode, both agree with each other. That is the first and last time you'll ever hear it.
How good is it? How good is it? How good's footy?
Welcome to Vegas. Enjoy the game, people.